Why I traded in my Harley Davidson 1200 Sportster for my Indian Scout Bobber. This is going to be a two-part video. I don't feel like splitting it up into two videos, so it's just going to be one continuous one, and I'm going to put a time slot on the screen about now to indicate when the second part, which is the actual list of reasons why. So if you don't want to hear my little story time / rant, then you can just skip to the important bits, I guess. So let's get started, I guess. So right off the bat, I don't have issues or problems with Harley Davidson. I just have nitpicky little bitch rants about them. Because it generally stems from even before I got into motorcycles. I was kind of like the regular civilian, non-rider that just was like, oh, Harleys, they're just loud, obnoxious, annoying bikes, and the people that ride them are, just looking for attention. That's honestly what I thought. It is what it is. And then I started riding. Obviously, that changed. The majority of Harley riders in itself are really good people. I know a lot of them. It's just the issue comes with the culture that Harley Davidson itself created, and it was their uprising and their downfall. Whether you want to agree with me or not, that's what it is. That whole outlaw bullshit back in the day, and there, the Harley Davidson culture to me is not welcoming. I mean, like I said, yes, there are a lot of nice people that ride and all that jazz, but there are some of those smug guys that if you do ride a cruiser and it's not a Harley, they give you that look like, why the fuck are you driving, riding that, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? I don't want to dwell on it too much. But with that out of the way, I guess, I'm going to go to the story time. So, first off, the Indian Scout Bobber was not my first bike. I wish it was, but it's not. My first bike was a Honda Shadow 2006, I believe it was. If I remember, I'll post the pictures of these bikes on the screen. But my first bike was the Honda Shadow. I loved that bike. It was so nice. But it had mechanical problems. So luckily the dealership I bought it from gave me credit towards another bike. And the next bike I bought was the 1200 because there was no other bike there that was a beginner-esque cruiser. The next one up was like a big-ass bagger, and then they had a bunch of sport bikes, and I wanted a cruiser. So I ended up buying the Sportster 1200. It was okay. I don't know. Yeah, it was a motorcycle. It got me from point A to point B. That's really that's really all I could say about them. So, and then I ended up trading in that bike for my Scout. With that out of the way, I'm gonna tell you one of the reasons why I am, in my opinion, just left me with a sour taste in my mouth from Harley Davidson itself. And this is basically the Harley tax. You know exactly what I'm talking about. When I went to go, I surprised my wife with buying her first motorcycle. She wanted a Harley of some sort. She's a shorter woman, so I bought her an 883. It was an older one. It was a 2002. It was actually pretty nice, and she really loved it, so I bought it for her. And during the transaction phase, they gave us the price of what it would cost, or what the sticker price was. And I was like, okay, that's good. Adding up the tax in my head, like, okay, we can afford this. And then they gave us the final paperwork of the out the door price. And it was basically double what the fuck they wanted for it. I wanted to question it more, but I didn't know. I just figured, oh, well, buying a motorcycle is different than buying a car, I guess. It didn't, I don't know. Like, it didn't sell well with me, but it is what it is. I didn't know. Now, I know that dealership fucked me. That's the easiest way I could put it. I'm not saying every single Harley Davidson dealer will do that. But that right there I just didn't like it. The way that happened, and there was a couple other deals that she was trying to trade that 883 in for a Softail, and the amount that they gave her for that Softail compared to what we paid for it, and it was. No, I don't like it. The whole mentality of, oh, you get what you pay for. Yeah, you do. It is American made and stuff. I get that, but the amount of extra money that you pay for that stupid HD badge is fucking insane. It just is. I won't ever do it. Even for buying a helmet, we wanted to buy her a full face helmet because she was a brand new rider. Some of those helmets are probably $150, $200, but added on with that stupid logo, the helmet we had to buy her was like $300 fucking dollars, like over $100 extra markup just for that stupid logo. Say what you want. I mean, yes, they're an American brand. Yeah, they're iconic, but they don't deserve that shit. I don't think that markup and stuff. And I did go with another name brand bike, Indian, very well known again. And of course, yeah, they probably mark up some of their shit. But if you did a side by side comparison, I don't think they do anything even close to what Harley does. You could argue that in the comments to me and prove your little data sheets or whatever, but to what I see, it doesn't compare at all. Harley Davidson fucks their customers. That's what they do. Give me examples of me being, incorrect, please, because my whole experience with Harley is that they just try and siphon every single cent they can, and that's how it is. So, with that being like the baseline of me not wanting to buy a Harley anymore, that's where that whole foundation starts. But yeah, it's just like I said, the whole culture of Harley and like the boomer generation, and they're getting really old. They're not all able to buy these bikes now. Now Harley Davidson's freaking out because they can't get the millennials and Gen Z and whatever the fuck is going on. They can't get them to buy the Harleys because nobody gives a shit anymore. And Harley Davidson isn't even really an American brand anymore. I know I'm going to trigger some people by saying that. I really don't give a fuck. They shot themselves in the foot with that whole tariff thing back in the 80s. I think it was the 80s with Honda. So that's all their wrongdoing. I don't want Harley Davidson to go out of business because that's a lot of fucking people that work for them. But I just want them to learn their lesson. It's fucking bullshit what they do. That's just my opinion on it. Agree with me, don't agree with me, I don't care. But okay, anyways, that's enough ranting. Now I'm going to go through with the list of why I bought this bike and will never go back. So this Indian Scout compared to my 1200, and by the way, the 1200 was a 2017. It's still pretty new considering. The first one is, I'm going to say safety. By safety, I don't mean like, this bike has airbags and that one didn't, or stupid shit like that. I'm not saying that at all. But, a motorcycle is a motorcycle. They're all dangerous in their own right. I mean, yes, I do have ABS on this bike. I didn't have it on the 1200. But I will say, for me, comfortability of safety, this bike is 1,000% more. I feel so much better on this bike. It feels so much more agile. It feels like if there's, if I'm going down the highway and there's something in the road, I could easily swerve around it without worrying about my tire sliding or just stupid little shit like that you might think about when you're riding or not think about, but stuff happens. This bike, I just feel so much safer on than that 1200. Also because, I believe it's because it's liquid cooled. The engine is a lot smoother, so this bike runs smooth as butter. The 1200, air cooled, that thing shook the shit out of me. I hated it. It was uncomfortable. It was loud. I just did not like riding that bike. I thought when I first bought it, I thought I would. I thought I would grow into it, but I didn't. It just got more comfortable over time. But yeah, that's the safety part. I just feel way safer on this bike than the 1200. That's the simplest I could put it. Now comfortability, the ergonomics, I think is what you want to call it. Where the placement is of the pegs and the seat and the handlebars. It's perfect. My 1200 was obviously taller, and I wasn't big, and I was not able to flat foot that bike. I didn't like that. This bike, I can easily flat foot it. I could move it around, push it around my garage with ease. I love it. So again, that's another kind of a safety thing for me because I know that I could plant my feet on the ground, hold this bike up with no qualms or issues. That's how it is for me. This bike fits me like a glove. I love it. Let's see. And sure, the stock seat from the Indian is way worse than the stock seat for the Sportster, but you could easily fix that. I got the Mustang seat currently on there, and it's fucking amazing. So let's go with power, even though I kind of already established it. This is liquid cooled, and the 1200 was air cooled. I could say this with 1,000% confidence: I will never, ever, ever, ever buy an air cooled motorcycle ever again. That Honda Shadow was liquid cooled. I loved it. The 1200 air cooled. That thing fucking was hot as shit. I hated it. This thing's liquid cooled. It's smooth. It's nice. So much more power. Just everything about that engine is anything surpasses the Sportster. And yes, I know that they came out with the new Sportster S or whatever the fuck it is, that new liquid cooled one. I get that came out, but that thing is so much fucking more expensive than this Indian, and you get the same shit. I mean, yeah, I think you get like a digital gauge and stuff on the new Sportster S or whatever. Who gives a shit? I'm here, like, I bought this bike to ride it, not to stare at the fucking cluster. That's why I bought it. To each his own. That's just my opinion on it. And then look and style. So with that, this bike to me is just sexy as shit. It looks way better than any Harley I've ever seen. That's just my opinion on it. Yeah, just the flow of the gas tank into the seats, and then it just, especially that engine with just a little bit of chrome accents, to me it's amazing. And then that 1200 chromed out was fucking nasty. I hated it. Like I said, when I bought it, I was like, okay, you know what? I'll give in. I'll buy it. I'll grow into it. I did not. I hated it. That was the only reason I liked riding it, is because I didn't have to see the fucking chrome. It was under me and I couldn't. This bike, I love riding it to death, but at the same time, I love just standing here and staring at it. I love this bike. But yeah, just style, this whole thing with the 16-inch rims. I love that big fat front tire. It looks so nice. Yeah, like the new Rogue has the 19-inch. It's pretty cool. But I love that bobber, thick-ass wheel in the front. I just love it. Everything about this bike is just fucking perfect to me. But yeah, if that 1200 was blacked out like this, it could compete a little bit to me. But I couldn't. And so that kind of brings me into the last one is modifications. Yes, for every one modification Indian Scout has, there's probably 50 Sportster mods that's out there. which is fine with me. Because for me, I don't really need to add anything to this bike. The only thing I added personally was that windscreen, because I want to take this on the highway more and I don't care for that all that wind hitting me. The highway bars, because I'm still pretty new and I don't trust myself entirely. Because God forbid I fucking knock this thing down. I don't want anything happening to that tank or anything. Added the pegs. The exhaust. Yes, the stock exhaust is horrible. That was already put on before I bought the bike. And then the mini apes. Overall, that's it though. There might be a couple other things I'm missing, but as in, like I said, modifications. I was kind of thinking about blacking out all the parts for my 1200 that were chrome, that I didn't want chrome anymore. But the cost, I looked it up, and it was going to cost me a lot. I don't remember the exact number, but it was going to cost me a lot. And that bike itself wasn't exactly cheap for being used. It had low miles. So basically, obviously, even with the mods and everything, it would not have been how much this bike cost. I know that. But to me spending that extra little bit for this bike instead of trying to mod out that 1200, it was just, to me, it made sense. You know, that's as simple as I could put it. Everything about this Scout, to me, is better than the Harley Davidson 1200 that I had. Everything. You know, I really don't think there's anything on that 1200 that I liked more than what this bike provides. As in look, style, comfortability, power, especially power. You know, that's that's it. Oh yeah, and I did upgrade the rear lights. I didn't have to, but I did because these Rage Cycle tail lights are fucking sweet as shit. I love the look of that. But yeah, just everything about this bike is better than the 1200 in my opinion. Whether you agree or disagree, I don't know. I hope that somebody actually, I don't know about watches this whole video, but at least listens to my list and kind of either agree or disagree or give me their opinions, or if you were in the same debacle, you had a Harley and you were thinking about buying an Indian, or vice versa, tell me why you think the Indian sucks ass and you only want to buy Harley. I don't want to hate on Harley. I'm annoyed by them as a company because of the shit that they're pulling. That's just me. That's my opinion on it. Before I keep going on a rant, that's my video. I hope you like my list. And yeah, that's it. Have a good one, guys.